Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Picks and Sticks podcast, a fun music podcast where four great friends talk about the music, bands, and songs that they love. I'm Mauro.
I'm Gordo.
I'm Cecil.
And I'm Huff.
And this is Picks and Sticks. On this episode of the podcast, we bring you 10 great songs from the band Black Sabbath.
Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year to from the Picks and Sticks boys. And gentlemen, how are we feeling? We got 2020 in the rear view. That was an absolute tire fire. 2021, hopefully bigger and better things. What do you think?
Well, I think it's starting strong. We've got rioting in the White House, or sorry, the state, or the Capitol building. It's starting off with a real bang, Huffman.
Yeah, I hope all our U.S. friends are, and again, I'm not, we're recording this. I guess is on the 6th of January. It'll air a little bit later, but hopefully everybody's safe down there and safe wherever you are in the world. But we're going to try and bring you some entertainment, or we are going to bring you some entertainment, whether it's good entertainment or not. That's up for debate. But regardless, we are going to
sunshiny band to open the year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So I guess I don't want to jump into it just yet. We're coming out of the Christmas break. Hopefully everyone looks well rested, and I don't know, maybe not
sober.
Well rested, but yeah, well, sort of.
For now,
I did notice when we were all talking around the Christmas, just after Christmas, that there was a bit of a theme going around, and I know that the wives never talked to each other. So I think it was coincidental a little bit, but we all got new vinyl. Some of us got new turntables and stuff for Christmas. So anybody
got the turntable?
Who got vinyl? Who got albums?
I did. I got the new AC/DC on vinyl, dude. It's unbelievable.
Oh, you got the Power Up.
That's right. It was unreal.
That is a strong gift.
My brother's stepping up to the plate, making up for like 5 years worth of crap.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, I thought Char would have hooked you up, but although she hit you with that Soundgarden LP
That's right.
a while ago, so she's got a lot of rope.
You got the first Soundgarden.
Yeah, the joke that never dies. And Mauro, I guess that was your birthday. Did you get into the Misfits albums?
yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
Great Misfits.
those are both Danzig albums. Yeah.
Those are both Danzig albums.
All right.
I would own nothing different than that. But
well, you never know. Maybe that we can draw some parallels between today's artists. Maybe whoever the Tony Martin of the Misfits maybe the dude's on fire. We just haven't heard it. So
I think my favorite part of that too is the under our current COVID rules, I mean, you can't come to my house. We can't go out for lunch. We can't grab a beer.
No.
But what we could do the other day
shit.
was we could meet at the record store and go shopping for vinyl, boys. That was fun.
We did. We had to go in individual cars. We had to, show up at separate times and walk around like we didn't really know each other. But once we got inside, it was pretty awesome. Good. I don't know. Gems. I saw Mauro.
I bought a gem. Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
And when I went to listen to the second side of it, it was the second side of Paranoid. It was a misprinted album.
You got a mixtape.
Black Sabbath, and so I gotta take it back. But maybe it's a collector's item. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
Misprinted vinyl album. I don't know.
Now, Gord, you were walking around with a copy of the self-titled album too. Did you buy it or did you put it back?
I put it back.
Okay.
I'm going to save that for next time. I did pick up Zeppelin 4, though, which is unbelievable. And I was very happy to get that.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's one of my old records I pulled out. Empty sleeve, empty case. Hoping it's in one of the
devastating.
other ones. And half of Electric Ladyland. And ZZ Top, open up, broken. Anyway, I don't mean to be a downer, but go on, Gord.
Which ZZ Top album?
What's the El
Loco? No,
yeah.
El... Yeah, I can. They got a lot of albums. And that was probably the gem of the ones that I picked up at Recordland was ZZ Top, DeGuello.
Nice. Nice.
Awesome album. So I'm hoping I'll sneak some ZZ Top in there at some point. Again, new year, first episode of 2021. I figured it would be a great time, or we figured that it'd be a great time to get into Gord's pouch.
Oh, let's get into the pouch.
I love this. I love this email that we got. So bring it on. This is outstanding.
All right, this is from Ryan Tinsberg. Ryan says, "Hi guys, I stumbled across your podcast over the holidays. I've only listened to 3 episodes, but so far I really like it, especially the interrupters. While I like classic bands, I'm always looking for new bands to listen to. Will you guys be covering more new bands soon? I sure hope so. By the way, I checked out the Kevin Mojica Christmas album, and it's really good. Thanks for the tip."
Thanks for the email, Mauro.
Thanks for that, Ryan.
Yeah. So in 2020, Gord was sending us emails. In 2021, now Mauro's sending us emails.
Oh man,
We should probably correct that.
Told you.
We should probably fact check that. That I believe someone mentioned Kevin Mojica might be from Tijuana. Turns out he's from New Jersey, right?
He's from Jersey.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, we had to let a couple people go from the research team. It was tough to let people go over the holidays. It's very heartless of us.
That's right. They got into the sauce a little early before Christmas.
Too many eggnogs. I don't know what that was.
As far as
new music,
I told him.
Hold on.
I'd love to hear some suggestions.
Hold on. You were telling me how bad my list was, and my list is the only list that got an email. So you can stuff it up your ass.
Guess Christmas is over.
Coming in with the overhand right.
Coming in, stuff it up your ass.
And my man Mojica delivered, right? So there you go.
He did. In all fairness,
totally did.
I did give that album a bit of I didn't listen to every song, but in all fairness, there was some really good stuff on it. Like I was pleasantly surprised, but on the whole, your list was still garbage, and I would still side with Gord over the argument over it was the Gwar song over the Oasis song. That still holds true. So that's a no-brainer.
Well, next we'll get an email on that, just so I can be right twice.
Well, you know what? I'll type one up right now. Apparently, that's what we're doing around here.
As far as new bands, I was going to say, people that are listening, if you have any suggestions for good new bands, we're always open to suggestions. To fire it off at Picks and Sticks Podcast at gmail.com. That's Picks and Sticks Podcast at gmail.com.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, if you're out there listening, and we did get a lot of traction on the interrupters, and we are looking at. We've got a list going, but if you've got a band that's kind of a newer band, ideally that has at least 3 albums, so it gives us some material to create a top 20 with. But we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, like today when I saw what was in August, the release of the 50th anniversary of Paranoid. I didn't even really sink in of how freaking old this is. A half century we're going for this. For this band. This makes no sense to me at all.
That is crazy, right? Because you always think when we were growing up, when you think, if you want to call it, classic rock or even oldies or whatever, that stuff was, you're talking like the Mamas and the Papas and shit like that. And all of a sudden, 50 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
I wasn't even born when it came out.
Heavy metal's been around for that
None
long
of us
now.
were. Not even Huffman.
No. It's close. It's pretty close. So before we get into the band, I think this is a great transition point. I just want to remind everybody that playlists are available on Apple Music, YouTube Music, Spotify. There's links to the playlists in the show notes. If you use Deezer, we've another shout out to our big fan of the show, Michael O'Coin, who's creating playlists for us on the Deezer platform as well, so you can catch that stuff there. I did have a note too that if you're looking for Jimi Hendrix was it on YouTube, Mauro, where there was no Jimmy on YouTube?
No, there was no Jimmy on YouTube. So, but I did put Amazon.
Yeah, Jimmy's Lawyers.
Anyway, so Yeah, so if you're looking for Jimmy on YouTube, sorry, you're SOL. It's not something that we didn't forget to do it. It's not available.
But we will have Amazon playlists now.
Oh, sweet.
Oh yeah, we'll have Amazon coming on too. So
and YouTube when they have the music.
Things are happening. Things are happening, and we're just slowly getting up and running on Instagram as well. We will try and do a better job, but please give us a follow. Also at Picks and Sticks Podcast. You'll find us on Instagram. So, with that being said, let's talk about Black Sabbath, and as I guess most people would know them to be Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and Ozzy Osbourne. That's kind of, there's been, man, if you go onto Wikipedia and you look at, there's a document there that shows like the lineup changes over the years.
Eh?
It's like 80
mind-boggling. Yeah, mind-boggling.
800 singers.
When you hear Black Sabbath, I would suggest that those are the four names that come to mind. Maybe Dio might come to mind as well, Ronnie James. But yeah.
There is a lot of Dio fans.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
How dare you exclude Ian Gillan?
Yeah, right?
How dare you monster.
And I like some Deep Purple stuff. Like there's, again, without trying not to get sidetracked, but good God, when it comes to Black Sabbath, the original four, if you want to call them the original four, that is the magic formula right there.
7 lead singers, 8 bassists.
I finally lost my fucking mind when I read that Iommi had fucking Michael Bolton try out.
What?
Yeah.
Rock sax? We love rock sax.
Maybe we're
Michael Bolton
maybe we're missing some Michael Bolton songs here.
Auditioned. That's what a bonehead Iommi
He's got
is.
some indie tracks we don't know about.
Yeah. Well, and he had a dude, a dude from Fleetwood Mac was in the band for a brief time too. So,
Well, that I can handle, but Michael Bolton? Oh, Jesus.
Hey, what we learned in the Pink Floyd episode is we're down with the rock sax when we didn't think that we did.
Totally true.
We didn't think
Wow,
we
my
were
voice is cracking again because I'm living.
That's when you know Mauro's getting upset. The guitaring's awful, right? You're not going to say
Michael Bolton.
They had Michael Bolton try out. This is outstanding. So, this is interesting. As we go through this, what I find really cool is you start to remember some of these stories that you forget how, when you say albums have been out for 50 years, we also kind of forget how long we've known each other. Cecil was the one that
get weepy.
Cecil got, here we go. This is the
I feel like this is our band, Huff.
I kind of feel that way too, man. I was getting memories. But Cecil got me into the band. We worked at a golf course, local golf course. We worked in the back shop. So that's where, they keep the rental clubs and the power carts and stuff like that. And I started working back there, and Cecil it was either Black Sabbath or Led Zeppelin. Those are kind of the go-tos. And it was Black Sabbath that Cecil was playing a lot and got me into the band. And that's when I started to listen to, I owned Paranoid. I didn't own any of the other albums, but obviously, like a lot of people, what the hits are, right? Like it's easy to find a greatest hits or whatever. So that was kind of my introduction into the band.
Yeah, we were writing lyrics on the wall, and then that's when then we were drawing drawing the North Stars logo. That's when North Stars made the Cup final against the Penguins, and then we had that job, so you show up at 6 a.m., you put out carts, you get everything ready till 7, and then you really got nothing to do till everyone's turning back, till people start coming in on 18. So the time it takes to play around is almost, it's not free time, but it's extremely slow.
Yeah, you pull out all the carts.
So we set up the range mats, and then we'd play a game. Okay, off that cart number 13. Okay,
yeah. Yeah.
Over off the door of the rental equipment.
Yeah. That's right. We take
calling your shots
from the lost and found, the clubs that have been there for a couple of years, like you knew the clubs that had been there forever. And so you'd look around and say, okay, there's that box up in the rafters. It's labeled Christmas tree. So you got to go off that. And we basically create a course. And so we're back there hitting golf balls and
Smashing windows.
Smashing just and cranking Black Sabbath. What you gonna do?
It wasn't a hoity-toity golf club.
Right? 4.
Didn't somebody build a cot in the rafters?
Oh, yes.
And
Somebody
you go up there and take a nap.
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Ingram.
Ingram,
Yeah.
Scotty Ingram with the thick neck. Yeah,
He built a cot in the rafters.
He'd go up there and sleep. So I'm just gonna take my break. And he'd walk into the back shop. He'd climb up that ladder, and he'd have a snooze. That was genius.
I used to get calls at 8 a.m. from Chucky Shields. Your shift started at 6. Oh. Yeah, I'll be right there.
Just on my way home.
Riding my bike down.
What do you mean? I'm on 13. I'm putting out KPs. Well, isn't this your home number? Oh, yeah, right. There were no cell phones back then. Fuck. Yeah. There's a few concert shows that we attended. I think we mentioned it before, Mauro. What year was it?
2017? 3 years ago?
Well, the first one was,
I know.
And I don't want to get into it too deep. We'll get into it maybe when we do a Motorhead, because we bought the tickets to go see Motorhead because Motorhead opened for Black Sabbath. I don't remember. I didn't write down the year. I wish I remember. It was in the Tony Martin years anyway.
And we didn't make it 96 or something.
Yeah, something like that. We didn't make it to the end of the show, but I will say Motorhead was spectacular. So we'll get into that in a future episode. But that was the first time, and then then I saw him in 2014 when they were touring for the 13 album, and then a bunch of us saw them again 2 years later in 2016 on what they called the end of the tours or something like that, or maybe it's just called The End, something like that. So
both great concerts.
Oh man, that is really.
I don't understand how Ozzy can talk like he talks, but sing like he sings incredible. And
the sound was insane.
It's not fake. Like at first, is it lip syncing? But there's not a chance. He sings.
It's
incredible.
crazy, right? He goes from the mumbling, Sharon, and then all of a sudden he's belting out Iron Man. You're like, what the hell's happening?
And sounded so good,
so good. And for all intents and purposes, they're a 3-piece, right? Like the sound that those three guys generate. Now I understand that when we saw them play, Bill Ward wasn't there. They had Ozzy's drummer, but it's for all intents and purposes, again, it's the 3-piece, and the sound was just heavy and thick and just devastating. So good.
That drummer was insane.
Oh,
that was the Ozzy drummer.
Yeah,
he looks like he's from Jimi Hendrix's band.
Yeah, what was
he? Right? Like he's got no shit. He looks kind of like a hippie. He was spectacular. I can't remember his name.
He was hard hitting too. Like he was not fucking around. So hopefully, I mean, I wish I would have been able to see them, tour for, Master Reality or something like that. But obviously we weren't around during that time. But I was still for a band that had been around, or at least guys that have been so old or that are so old that went out there and just absolutely crushed those concerts. Like if they got back together and they said that they were going to play, whenever we're allowed to go see concerts again, I would go again.
Oh, I'd go for sure.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Anything else? Well, I know that. Do we want to talk about Iommi as a guitarist or Geezer as a? I mean, the three.
Geezer was a guitar player.
Iommi being a fellow amputee.
Yeah, let's hear.
What?
Yeah, he's missing his two fingers tips. Hey, he plays with fake fingertips.
Who?
Iommi lost him in a press. Like he was a sheet metal worker.
Really?
So I don't know how old he was.
He was a welder.
Man. Welder? He crushed his fingers, and when he pulled them back, his fingertips are missing. So he Took he didn't play for about 6 months, but he cast his own fingertips. I can't remember exactly how he did it, but he like melted plastic. I think it was plastic or something. He put like a bubble, like a balloon on it, melted a cast onto it, and then once it dried, he took it off and filed it down into fingertips. And so he plays with two fake fingertips. He had to put a leather cover on it though.
Am I the only man?
I didn't know he
on
cast
the
it.
planet
I knew
that
he
didn't know
lost his
that?
fingers though.
Nuts, eh?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't know that.
So he's always giving the horns to Satan. Hey,
Nice. Maybe he did it on purpose. That's how metal he is.
he's so
That's
metal.
why there's so
He's
many power
metal.
chords.
So there's so many power chords.
He couldn't play the other kinds of chords.
That's
They accidentally invented heavy metal. Would you actually let's talk about that too? Would you consider them? Invent is always a tough word, but
Their name is
I think
associated
they get called
with the
from
birth
time to
of
time the
heavy metal.
Godfathers of heavy metal, and I think you could make a good case. There's some other bands that were heavy-ish, dabbling in this kind of music, but they weren't like this.
But the heaviest bands were like Jimmy, Cream,
yeah.
and Led Zeppelin was just starting.
Certainly.
So Led Zeppelin was on the heaviest.
And I mean, I had the history.
Yeah.
Our research teams came up with how they what's left of it. We
What's left
decimated
of them.
that shitty department, right? But I don't know if you guys knew this, but they were originally called Earth, and I think they were a 6-piece, and they were a pretty shitty blues band.
You were a 6
And
it's like a superconductor.
and but there was another band in England called Earth, and so they get hired for gigs, and the guys go, "Who the hell are these guys?" They thought they'd hired the other band, so they were at the practice studio, and they were watching the crowd line up for this movie, a new Boris Karloff movie called Black Sabbath, and I think it was Bill Ward mentioned. He said it's strange that people spend so much money to see scary movies. And so they came to the realization that they were a shitty blues band. So they decided to write for horror movies, like scary, scary stuff. And that's how they changed.
It was like Iommi
think
and
I believe
Ozzy
they
went
did,
to the
yes.
movie, didn't they? Didn't they? I think they went and checked it out.
But
Yeah.
I think Mauro was heading there earlier. Geezer was a guitarist in Earth, not a bassist, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah, he was a guitar player.
I dug up some like old demo stuff. It's pretty unremarkable, but it's funny they had the self-awareness to actually go, well, we're not getting anywhere doing this. Let's do something different. And then they came up with that.
Yeah, so they booted the sax player.
Oh,
and
the sax
bassist,
player got
and
whacked.
Geezer took
That's
over
right.
bass. The wizard would have
Let's
been
get
in
rid of
saxophone,
Clarence.
hey?
The wizard would have had
Clarence
a
again.
baritone sax. That's right. Big shitty saxophone wrecking it. It's like a crappy clarinet.
Well, and Iommi played in Jethro Tull
Yeah.
That's right.
for
he did
for a
briefly.
short period
No
of time.
way.
Yeah, just briefly.
What do they
Yeah.
sing? Is that Aqualung?
Yeah.
Do, 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 do.
I find it hard to believe he was in that band. I was surprised when I read that too.
I do too.
What are you gonna do? All right,
Jethro.
Yeah.
there you go.
Freaking hillbilly.
Yes.
Maybe the research department. Maybe we can expand it again. We'll consider reinstating it.
Well, there's reinstating. I'm not sure.
Well, back to your question though. If I saw an interview of them when they reunited, but just after like the first time, and they hated being called the inventors of heavy metal. They hated being called heavy metal because they didn't.
Really?
They thought they were hard rock. And I don't know if you listen to them today, they kind of are hard rock. But
Sorry.
I can't think of a metal band or a super heavy rock band and the guitar players and on and on and on that don't recite Black Sabbath as an influence.
But they,
There's too many bands to name.
yeah.
Everyone.
No, they didn't want to be as dark as they're portrayed. Like Ozzy was actually pretty colorful. He didn't wear like black eyeliner and crosses and that with Black Sabbath. And I saw another story about some like occult wanted them to play for him. They said forget it. So then they, I guess this cult supposedly put a curse on him. So a couple of them brought out that's when Ozzy started wearing a cross because he was scared of this curse. But that's That's the
Maybe
internet.
that's why the band broke up.
That's the internet talk.
I don't know how well loved they were when they first started by other bands either, because I came across, I think it was Robert Plant quote, and he doesn't name Sabbath by name, but he's definitely implying Sabbath when he talks about bands playing this new heavy metal stuff, and he calls them riff bashers. Basically, they're just repeating a riff over and over. Yeah.
Riff bashers, like riff rulers, maybe.
Yeah.
Settle
down, Robert.
Take a seat.
Yeah.
Take a seat,
Yeah.
Bob.
Well, they kind of invented that style of singing over riffs and when you listen to their style, there's right at the beginning, there's not really choruses and verses. There's like just jamming, and it was interesting because they were playing gigs and they didn't have enough songs. So what they started to do was they would just jam. So they would turn a song that's 3.5 minutes,
like Queens of the Stone Age,
7-minute song, and that's how they ended up with. Yeah, but that's how they ended up with the first album. And if you listen to a lot of the stuff in the first 2 albums, and a little beyond that, it's almost like 2 songs in one. Or they'll start with a riff, and then the middle is a completely different song, and the end sort of finishes how it started. So,
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, I've got a couple of notes on some of the songs that we've got on our list that fit that exactly, where they sound like 2 songs put together, or that's exactly it. It's funny that you say that. I was trying to find the words, and I think you said exactly what I'm trying to say.
yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, and I'm just gonna get my Iommi hate out now because
get it out, man.
because I need to get off my chest.
Well, I've been waiting for it because you teased it to us earlier, and I'm like,
I love Tony Iommi. I love his playing. What I don't like is that he just dragged this insanely legendary band's name through the shit. You know?
Oh, okay.
7 singers. Like, could you just give up and like retire the fucking name? You know, and I believe even the Dio stuff was good, and then he went and pissed off Dio, and Dio told him to fuck off, and so he ruined that too. Like, he could have just continued with Dio, and it could have been like any other band where, okay, they had Ozzy for this period, and they had Dio,
like
but
Van Halen.
He had exactly, or like AC/DC, and the Dio stuff would have probably gotten better, but he just seemed to drag the whole band's name through the mud. Fortunately, it ended well for all of them. But anyway,
Yeah, you sound like like they needed a few name changes throughout their 19 albums.
Well, and I'm
and
glad
then he made a
that's-
bunch of excuses about, oh, they made me use the name. Just retire the fucking name.
Yeah,
Black Sabbath is done.
yeah. You're probably right, and I'm glad that's what your beef was, because you wouldn't tell us exactly what the issue was. And I sat there, especially as I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm thinking, you know, as a guitarist, what is it that Iommi is doing that is making you insane? I thought you were going to come up with there's some strange tuning or some bullshit that was happening. I was like, this isn't going to make any sense to me. So I'm glad it's just the fact that he just couldn't let that thing die. And like you said, he said 7 singers. Cecil mentioned like 8 bass players. I don't know how many drummers they had. They had a number of different drummers.
Looks like 50.
Yeah, and then when we saw him in '96, we had to leave. We had to leave the concert. It was so bad.
It was that bad, eh?
Oh, it was awful.
It was. Yeah, 100%.
That's
We saw
crazy,
Motorhead, and
'cause
then we're like, we got to get out of here.
their last
Motorhead
one
blew
you
them
couldn't
off the
sound
stage.
better, could it?
I saw some YouTube videos of that era, and it's pretty weak stuff. Like I was trying my best to find some deep cuts for this from that time, and I'll let the spoiler out now. I didn't find any.
Yeah, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Now, as a guitar player, I think he's amazing. There you go.
Yeah, when you watch him, he's awesome, and some of the riffs and they do a lot of tempo changes and a lot, like the way that they construct a song, I think, is, again, talking about the original four. And I mean, Iommi and Butler, they hung around. Even Billy Ward hung in there for a pretty long time, but you know, Iommi and Geezer were kind of together, and you know, for a while, but.
Geezer wrote most of the good lyrics too, didn't he?
Yeah, Geezer did write a lot.
Yeah.
He left
Which I didn't know either.
He left the note like this, the musical, or how do you say it? the singing to Ozzy. Like, he didn't tell him how to sing it. It's not like he sang the song and said, sing it like this. He just wrote the lyrics, and then Ozzy, so he still wrote the notes, I guess.
Yeah, Ozzy would come up sometimes with the theme of the song and give him some ideas, and then he would write the rest of it.
When I was working at Vacuum Flow, it's weird. Okay, so this weird package showed up. Anyways, I got a envelope addressed to nobody. Okay, it was from like nowhere. It was this random thing. I picked it up, asked around. It's nobody's. Opened up. There's 2 Zippo lighters in there. So what happened was, I don't know, it looked like someone maybe sent them away because the inside was new and the cases were old and scratched. You know, it's like they got Zippos refurbished. Okay. I flipped the one over. I still have this thing somewhere. It's engraved. It says, "My name is Lucifer. Please take my hand." One of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I would have sent it to the address, but it didn't have it was like someone like dropped it off for me or something. It was whoever.
I think you were meant to have it.
It was whoever knocked that cup off the counter.
How long have I known you, and you've never told me that story?
Yeah, just random. "My name is Lucifer. Please take my hand." And the other one was just plain black. Yeah.
There's only one other, and I'm going to let you guys say it. There's only one other band that's influenced by horror movies.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, fuck.
I knew it.
Don't say it.
I knew
Typo negative?
Iron Butterfly.
White Zombie?
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Well, yeah. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Mauro, you said Tony Iommi was a great guitar player. I got to say, from the drumming point of view, Bill Ward's a good drummer, but I'm deeply impressed with Geezer Butler on bass. Like, how good is that guy?
Oh, I know. Sounds so good, eh?
He's incredible.
He's not as good as Cecil.
That's right.
That's true. That's true.
We had similar styles. Just follow the guitar player. Just follow the notes. I'm just another octave here.
Yeah. There you go.
You call me Doc Ock on bass. Or sorry, Doc Half Ock.
I don't even know where to go with that. All right. Do we want to get into the top 10 and the algorithm, or do we? I think
Let's do it.
We could talk about the band probably forever, but I think as we talk about some of these songs, some of the other stuff that we want to talk about is going to come out anyway. So, as a reminder, and for the new listeners, how we come up with this list is the 4 of us will create a top 20 list, and then we apply the patented picks and sticks algorithm, and it ranks all those songs. And then we take the top 10 songs and kind of briefly talk about them. And as always, even though it's a brand new year, boys, it's 2021, the algorithm did not let us down, and it delivered 11.
Sure did. It sure did. You know what? Sorry, go ahead.
I wish I could say we were just making it a gimmick, but it happens every time.
It happens every time. So I'm starting to think that maybe we should call it the top 11 list. We have to just change it, say 11 great songs, but then it'll probably deliver 12. Then we'll have 12.
Then it'll spit out 10 every time.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you're right. Sorry, Gord, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I know we've had some lists of late where they're all over the place in terms of a guy has a song ranked first, another guy has it 15th, and another guy doesn't have it. There's a lot more consistency on this one without spoiling it. Like, we agreed on the majority of the songs here that are good, which
that's
was
because
kind of encouraging.
Their first 5 albums are great, and the rest are shit. That's why.
I'd slipped 6 in there, but you know, I like Sabotage. I got to give it its due, but you're right. It really goes downhill after that, in my view.
Again, the name change would have helped at all because I started to warm up to a lot of that stuff. I never gave a chance. I even like some Tony Martin.
Really?
There's a few songs, yeah.
Little hair Sabbath. They should have called it for him.
Yeah, I agree. They should have changed that up. But anyway, we are dealing with the entire catalog. I think it's 17 albums. I didn't count it out.
19.
Was it 19? Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
19 albums, 4 of which you can't find.
Yeah, that's a good point too. You know, there are when you look at the streaming services, there are some albums that you just can't find. And maybe that's a good thing. I did track down a couple on YouTube, and it was certainly the The juice was not worth the squeeze, as they say.
Oh no.
36 minutes.
this
We
me or
lost
is it
Huffman. All right.
Huffman.
Well, that's okay.
30. Well,
Hey, he's
out of
faking.
19 albums, you'd think there's probably what? How many songs were?
That's going to be a
Who can
hard part
imitate his
to,
voice better?
edit
Can't
out
do
of.
it. Oh, he moved. He moved. He's coming back. Give him a shock. Get the defibrillator. There, I got
Mouth
it.
to mouth. Mouth to
There you
mouth.
go. Clear.
Come back to us, Huff. See the light, buddy.
Clear. Think we lost one more time. Clear.
Okay, so let's get into it. The tie, I guess, for top or for the 10 spot. Sorry, Into the Void from Master of Reality. I don't know, right?
As heavy as it gets.
Heavy first riff, and then there's that. It's got a wicked bass line. There's that cool change before the lyrics start. Like, I don't know that. Now that I said that out loud, I feel like I ranked this a little low. I feel like I should have had this higher on my list. I almost said it.
Great dude.
I said this is a.
They dropped that song's dropped two whole notes. It's drop C on the guitar.
Is that
So you try to play it on acoustic and your strings almost fall off your guitar. It's still a good campfire song.
I don't
Yeah.
think
Mauro, he- drive him nuts.
I don't think there's a song, or I don't think there's a guitar on the planet that Cecil hasn't picked up and played that fucking riff on.
Totally.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was only I knew that.
No,
Every
that's
time
what
I-
was.
And you remember he had the little pig nose amp, the little amp,
That's right.
the batteries.
In the cum-colored van.
We used to sit and smoke marijuana, and you used to play Into the Void over and over.
Really, really horribly too.
To me, this would be a great introductory song if you had like somebody just moved here and you're like, they don't know a thing about Black Sabbath and you want to introduce them. You just fire up Into the Void. Like, this is the real test. If you don't like this, you might not like the rest.
Yeah.
Such a good song.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you, I'll just throw this out before we get into the other song at number 10, but Soundgarden did a cover of this. Have you guys come across this?
I'm not.
Okay, so here's today's homework, and for the listeners as well, if you haven't seen it or heard it, I
I've
guess
heard it.
you can find it on YouTube. But Soundgarden does a cover of it. Cornell's voice sounds wicked. They changed the lyrics, mind you, so it's not a direct cover. They changed the lyrics, but they did a really good job. And I would say for any of the Matt Cameron haters out there that don't think that he's a very good drummer, maybe I know there's those camps that say he's better in Soundgarden than he is in Pearl Jam or whatever, but Matt Cameron's an absolute animal on that song. So make sure you check that out. The other song that came in at number 10 was from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, A National Acrobat. The guitaring in this is just completely mind-boggling to me. I can't get enough of this song.
It is awesome. Now, I think it was only me and you that had this on our list. Was that right, Huff?
Yeah, it was just you and I. We had it ranked high.
I can't believe how good this opening riff is. And I think Ozzy's, I know Geezer Butler, we talked about writing some of the lyrics, and I think Ozzy's an underrated lyricist. It's not easy writing like dark stuff like this, so I just wanted to read a quick passage from this, if I could.
I love this part of the episode. All right, hit me with it.
Yes, we did.
I've lived 1,000 times. I found out what it means to be believed, the thoughts and images, the unborn child that never was conceived. Like, come on, Ozzy's crushing it there.
Right?
Like, but as I said, trying to come up with like catchy, dark stuff, that is not an easy task.
Well, there's different theories out there, and you don't want to get too deep into the lyrics. But a song about, death and reincarnation, and some would also argue that it talks about abortion, or at least there's a social commentary to that. But I can't even get past the guitarist, the guitaring on it. Like Iommi's just awesome, great, overall just awesome.
To that point, I find that a lot of people just think they're like Satanists and sinister. Or the lyrics are actually pretty thoughtful on a lot of songs.
I agree.
Like, they're well written. They're not all about, that shit that they got sort of.
Yeah. Ozzy talks about love a lot in his lyrics, which I know sounds odd, but it's quite interesting. He kind of sets those themes up in some of those songs.
Well, yeah, but they're a little bit different. We'll get to. There's a couple of songs coming up where there is a love or a romantic element to it, but it's not exactly the way that you think it would be.
Like a first date type of thing.
Exactly. It's not going to be in a John Cusack movie. Number 9. Now this number 9 is starting to make a little bit of sense to me now, because number 9 is from the self-titled Black Sabbath album. A Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village Warning. Now, is it a bit of finger? Now I just learned that dudes are missing fingertips.
It's a bit off finger.
A bit off my finger. Anyway, Cecil and Mauro were big on this song, so I'll let you guys talk about this one.
It's a long song. It's like a Pink Floyd song.
Yeah.
And
well, it's 3 songs put together. Would you call it 3 songs put together?
Yeah, and the reason I call it Pink Floyd is because he really shows off his blues playing in this song in a lot of different ways. I like it because the guitaring's phenomenal, and it's like a bit of a journey. It's a great.
Yeah. I know when he gets to Warning, I just love the images he's talking about. First day that I met you, I was looking in the sky, sun turned all a blur, and the thunderclouds rolled by. Sea began to shiver, winds began to moan.
You should just sing it, man. Let's just.
Must have been a sign for me to leave you well alone. I was born. Anyways,
Cecil's a lyrical master.
No, but the 3 songs in one.
Yeah,
it is a journey. It is. I was listening to it just before. It is so good.
It is. It's stellar.
It's a great tune.
Stellar.
A great tune.
Yes. You know what else is a great tune? The song at number 8. Symptom of the Universe from Sabotage. Gordo, it made the podium on your list. That's unbelievable.
Coming in at number 3, Symptom of the Universe, off of the highly unheralded album, Sabotage. I guess you'd call this up-tempo for Sabbath, right? Like this would be classified as a mid-tempo song, but for them it's moving along at a brisk pace.
I agree.
I hear a lot of early Metallica in this, and bands, the early like metal bands of that time. I don't know what it is, but this is Ozzy at his screeching best. His voice is hitting octaves that I didn't even know he could do.
Yeah, he's strong on this for sure.
Oh, just deadly. Yeah. Good lyrics, good guitar, and a very driving song.
Yeah, that's the stuff, like you said, that Metallica, well, there's, Fairies Wear Boots that Metallica completely stole, but like, I agree, you can hear that, and even the kind of the bands before them that, that Metallica covered, I guess, if you will, and bands of that nature.
That's got the long jazzy outro too, with the piano.
Yeah, it does. It's so strange, right?
And that's a catchy tune. Strange though. Like really strange outro, but it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a total lounge jazz. You're right, like a lounge act.
Lounge.
It's
that's like
so weird.
There's another song like that by this. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say another song similar. It's. I full digress. It's the Stones. Can You Hear Me Knocking? It's one of the best songs ever. And then it's got like a bongo Latino outro for 4 minutes. It should be cut off at the umbilical, but probably bad timing for that story. Go ahead, Mauro.
I was just gonna say Sabbath does the reverse power ballad. They start it heavy and they end it. And they end it.
That's so true.
Maybe they do.
I love that.
Well, he's
You know
left-handed
what?
guitarist.
And what did they always say about that satanic music, right? You play it backwards and you can hear it. So if you played it backwards, it would become the ballad.
power,
You're a
right?
genius.
Yeah.
Dude.
Wow. Well done, Mauro. I take all the shit that I said
Huff
about you
him,
lately
too.
back.
Oh my God. Insights like that. You won't
there's
get
any-
anywhere else but picks
If
and
there's any
sticks.
song that could be called a metal song, that the Symptom of the Universe is for sure. The way
Yeah.
it starts, anyway.
It's got to be one of the, well, I was going to say one of the most recognizable riffs, but I think that's probably in a bucket of a million of them. But I mean, you don't need to hear very much of that song before you know exactly what it is. But I think probably a lot of Sabbath songs are like that, including the one at number 7, War Pigs. Right? War Pigs and Luke's Wall, if you want to call it talking of weird outros.
That's another one.
Right, when you put those together. But this is funny. We kind of hit, this is off of the Paranoid album. The last song, Symptom of the Universe, was on Gord's list at number 3, 8 overall. This one was your number 2 song, which was interesting.
Silver medal here, buddy. Dude,
Yeah.
you've known me a while. I don't throw terms like musical masterpiece very often, but I think we might be dealing with one here. Like, this song is insane. It is.
It is.
It's so well crafted. They do something very unique where, it's just the hi-hat and Ozzy singing, which is very recognizable. Everyone knows this song. Satan laughing, spreads his wings, like tremendous imagery in this.
Lord, yeah.
Like just so good. The guitar solo, that's so good that he records it twice. Like he records himself soloing twice just because why not?
Guitar solo is so good.
Yeah.
And I've heard many bands cover this, but I got to throw out my love for Faith No More.
Yeah, I knew you were going there.
Yes.
That's such a good cover, eh?
Oh, so good.
It's probably the only acceptable cover that I've heard anyway.
Agreed.
I don't know. That live one that I sent out was pretty good. With Slash
Oh yeah, that
and
was
Post
pretty
Malone.
decent. That was pretty good, but
Pretty good.
yeah. I don't know what it is. The Faith No More one is. It's like they stayed very close to the original, minus Michael Patton sings a little different, obviously, but it was really cool.
Yeah,
It's
and
got
this
the
is a
same
great.
style.
Yep. I was going to say this is a great example of what you mentioned earlier, Gord. When you say that the band is thought to be a satanic band or talk about those darker things or satanic themes and stuff like that. But this is really, I don't know if I'd call it an anti-war song, but it's certainly not a pro-war song. It really talks about the hell of war, if you will, and the destruction that man loves to
Yeah, I think you could probably call it an anti-war song. I mean, it's not as obvious as some of the anti-war songs of the time, but I think it's definitely not singing its praises, is it?
No, not at all. And I'm wondering if we can we do the Gord trifecta here, because it just as we're going, the Gord trifecta is now at number 6, Lord of This World from Master Reality. And the only reason I'm going to throw you in this one, you had this at number 4. So you had some songs that you really, really loved that come in very strong here in the top 10. And this is I'm just going to say, this is a great tune.
It is. I'm loving the list so far, boys, but Lord of This World is, again, a little different. It's very, it's your typical slowish, grungy, Sabbath heavy song, but I really like they do something different. I guess you'd call it the bridge right after the solo. They just stop. And I think it's Ozzy in the band at his best, where he just belts out "Lord of This World." Like it just grabs you right by the sack. I love this song.
Yeah. It's
I got to say, I think I like this album more than anyone too. I don't know what you guys thought about Master of Reality. I know some people don't like it quite as much as the others. I have it right there with the best of the bunch.
It grew on me if you would have asked me before we started listening to the catalog, it would not have been as high as if you asked me now. I enjoyed it, well, more than Volume 4. And Volume 4, I don't want to say is kind of, it's, I think the album cover has, because it's so famous, right? Ozzy with the peace sign, like in the yellow and black cover, is just so iconic. that maybe it seems as though that is their most famous or their best album or whatever. I mean, we can talk about which are the best album, but Master Reality, I didn't know very much about in, like, when you talk about all the songs in its entirety. But man, it is spectacular. It really is.
Every song is good on that. It's I never saw this, but I guess Rob Halford had to step in for
I read that.
A failed singer. Was it Ozzy that someone didn't show or someone quit? No, Dio, didn't he just walk off tour? Or
somebody pulled the chute.
Yeah. One of the singers, when they quit, they had to bring Halford in to sing a concert. You can find Children of the Grave. I never caught that though.
Did you catch any footage of that, Cease? Is there any footage out there? I don't know if anyone knows the answer to this, of Halford singing. Because I think that intrigues me a little bit.
Yeah, you can find it.
It is out there, hey?
Huh, I have to check that out. Because he sounds like a perfect fit for them.
There's also on, I don't understand, like, well, they changed the song names, or their album song names around, but there was a missing song on there. We were listening to it. That's before the podcast. They got what's it called? Death Mask. Never heard of it. Great tune. Anyways, it was on the Master. Oh, you should look for Master Reality record. Do you have it, Mauro? Yeah.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't. Yeah, we got to see if Death Mask is on that.
It was there when we were there on Sunday. The album was there. I don't know what condition it was in or whatever, but I do know that I did see a copy, and I was contemplating it. And as I got home, I kind of regretted not getting it.
Well, we'll have to go back next week, dude.
Yeah, you know what? I'm all for that because I do have a vinyl addiction. Speaking of addiction, the song at number 5 talks about heroin addiction. Hand of Doom.
Oh, I thought it was
Paranoid album.
I thought it was about self-love. Okay.
No, that's the right hand of doom.
The hairy hand of doom.
Or it's the left hand of doom, I guess, if you're right-handed. Anyway, that is a horrible digression. But that's the first and only song from Paranoid that hit our top 10 or top 11 list, which I thought was interesting. But it's I don't know what Mauro. What give me something for Hand of Doom.
Well, Slayer does a good cover of it.
Haven't heard it. Really?
It is really good.
Yeah, but it's very Slayer, so it's a little heavier. It was written by Geezer, and I won't read the lyrics because it's not.
I'll sing them.
Because that's Gord's job.
That's Gord's job, to read passages. I'm going to read you a little passage.
When you're dealing with Sabbath, it's passages.
Yeah.
You need a smoking jacket and a pipe.
But from what I understand, they were watching the Vietnam vets come home, and they were all addicted to whatever it was. Sounds like heroin was probably pretty popular.
Yeah, he sings, first it was the bomb, Vietnam, napalm.
Yeah, and
napalm.
And if you read the lyrics as you go through the song, it's them sort of getting addicted, coming home, and then, dying, basically. So it's not the happiest song of the world.
Certainly.
But
it's
again,
called Hand of Doom. What do you expect, man?
Yeah.
And those are Geezer's lyrics. Again, great. He's such a good lyricist. Like, those are...
I agree. He's horribly underrated, I think.
Agreed. I'd also suggest this. I know we always say we could tweak these lists, to the very last minute. This is the one song that I would have actually moved up on my own list. I had it at somewhere around 7.
7, yeah.
On a re-listen just yesterday, I'm like, how was this 7? This has got to be like top 3. It's so good.
Yeah, it's...
That
I don't know.
intro
You get these legendary bands, and it's so hard. And I haven't said this actually in a long time on any of our episodes, but I'll go back to what I used to say in the first few. Is if you're listening to this and you're screaming at us saying, "How do you not have this song on your list?" or whatever, try it yourself. Try and create a list of 10 or create a list of 20 and rank them. And it's freaking brutal because it does depend on the more you listen to a song or even if somebody just says, "Oh, hey, on this song, there's this one part that does this and this," and then you'll listen to it and you go, "Oh my God!" Now, like you hear it completely different, and now it's, it's all over the place. Hannah Doom is. I mean, I want to say it's one of my favorite songs, even though I had it lower on my list. But again, it's hard to place them all.
Yeah. We'll get into it probably later in our omissions and stuff. And you'd be like, to your point, Huff, people are probably like, "Where's Iron Man? Where's One, we haven't finished the list, but the other thing is they actually have some songs that are so much more, in my opinion, well written than some of the hits they had.
Yeah, I agree.
Some of the really popular stuff.
Point.
So I really like our list because it's got some really well written songs on it.
Yeah, and especially if you've listened to the band and maybe not paid attention to the lyrics, and I was one of those. I was one of those people. Once you got into the lyrics and realized, and that's why I think, like, just lyrically, I think this band, or at least, Geezer is horribly underrated. There's some material here that is fantastic.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was listening to Dehumanizer, and there's a lot of songs there. It's a Dio album that had great lyrics too. I wonder if Geezer was on that one or not. I have to look into that. Like Computer God and TV Crimes, they're super good. They're relevant songs for today.
I must say, of that time, that album's actually not too bad compared to some of the others in that time. Dehumanizer, that is. There was some
I think it's a great
stuff.
album.
Oh,
it just came out at the wrong time.
Yeah, you're probably right. Came
out in the middle of grunge.
Teen Spirit and Pearl Jam, Dehumanizer.
I remember going to Mauro's house when you had that CD, and again, this was before I wasn't into Black Sabbath. I knew some of the stuff that Cecil introduced me to, and you had Dehumanizer, and you listened to it quite a bit. You loved that album.
I did.
But
there you go.
None of it can make the top 20. I'll tell you that. Number
what do we
4.
got next here?
Number 4.
This one's interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised. So this is a song called "Wicked World" off of the Black Sabbath self-titled album, their first album. I was surprised that "Wicked World" came in as high as it did, especially considering that only 3 of us voted for it. So that tells you where it ranked in our lists.
The transition from intro to first
opening riff
so
good. And this is a complete drumming clinic.
Yeah.
Billy Ward on this. I love Billy on this one. Billy's absolutely smashing it. Good. Like, so good. I could listen to this song. I feel like, I had it at 4. All of these next songs were interchangeable a little bit for me, because 4 of these next songs were all in my top 5.
Yeah, amazing drums, hey?
Oh, really good. Really good. I feel like Bill might be a little bit underrated as a drummer.
Wicked World is, I think, the only recorded song where he actually used his Strat instead of his SG.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
His old Stratocaster. He wrote it right after he wrote this. Iommi wrote the song right after he was done with Jethro Tull.
Oh,
and when you read the lyrics of the song, it's like I read the lyrics. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, it's describing the world today, like, basically.
I'll have to give those a look.
Yeah, I didn't get into the lyrics on this one, only because I was completely bamboozled by that opening riff and then the crazy drumming. Just so good. Just so good.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, when they wrote it, there was a lot of social activism and stuff going on. And when I read the lyrics, I was like, this sounds like something that someone could have wrote yesterday in terms of, like,
I'm going to check it out, because it was right around the Vietnam time, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. As we transition into the top 3, we talked about Wicked World having that great opening guitar riff. at number 3. So this is, and we'll talk about this. It's Wasp, Behind the Wall. What is it?
Behind the Wall of Sleep.
Yeah, Behind the Wall of Sleep, and then basically, which basically is the bass intro, and then NIB, right? That somehow those 4 have been put together, where I kind of see it more as 2 and 2, but in any event,
there's a weird there's a weird thing that went on with these songs. The first album had only 7 songs, and then that was the European cut. So NIB, like you said, was its own tune, and then with the US release, someone convinced them to because how they changed so much, they made more songs. They split them up, so they trying to get more money, right? More singles equals more money back then. So now they're kind of put back together in the original group, but they've kept the names they've added, but grouped them like in the same order.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's been it's all mixed up. You can find the album with multiple different song lists, but it's the same listen.
I think we could agree, like, the best part of this is NIB, right? Like, that's the majority of it.
With basically, though. Right?
Sure, with basically.
That to me makes sense. And anytime I've seen NIB played, there's some version of basically that starts it off, right? But it's essentially it's a wicked bass opening riff. The Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, and I know that the 2 times that they came to Calgary, when we saw them play, they played Behind the Wall of Sleep with the Wasp intro, but they didn't play all 4 together, even though they played all 4 songs in the set, if that makes sense. Yeah,
so the original one had Behind the Wall of Sleep, followed by NIB, which makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But the one that was the 2014 and 2016, they played I guess I stand corrected, actually. Actually, they did. They played Behind the Wall of Sleep with the Wasp intro, and then NIB. I stand corrected. Maybe the 4 do go together. I think
they all belong together.
Yeah,
they do now. That whole album has to be played as one song. I feel like I couldn't mix them up. It's every note and riff is perfection. Like I think it's Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath is a great tune, and then it kind of goes to that nobody ever questions when you ask the reason why. Like it just doesn't fit, And I feel like everything fits after the next. Fuck me and my words. God damn it.
I know what you're saying.
I think they had to record that album, and they had 2 days. So they played everything that's recorded on that album was live.
They recorded it in 8 hours. It cost them $1,200.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And that explains why it's so cohesive.
Yeah.
Well,
they did. I want to talk about the lyrics a little bit for NIB, because out of those 4, that's kind of it's 4 songs, but NIB is kind of the focus and the song itself, because I think that NIB is about 5.5 minutes, and the 4 songs collectively is like 7 or something, right? But it's very interesting because it's got the satanic tones and stuff like that, but it's an interesting take, because it's Satan falling in love with, I guess, with a woman, with a human, whatever you want to call it, rather than
Gord,
right?
What?
Right?
Plot twist.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. It's a wicked song, and it's I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting take when you think about songs that are written about Satan, and that this is not something that would typically be the direction you'd go, right?
Certainly. Yeah. It's above everything, it's a catchy song, right? It's a catchy riff that you can't stop yourself from humming later.
It's a pretty typical male thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds about right.
A lot of bending the truth up front, and then the truth comes out. And it turns out that he's Satan.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Every single time.
Every time.
Every time. As we get into the top two, again, the we're going to stick with the Black Sabbath self-titled album. The song that doesn't really, Ozzy plays harmonica on it, so that gives it away. But it is The Wizard. I almost had this number one.
And for you nerds, it's inspired by Gandalf from Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I did read that the guys in the band changed depending on what article you read and at what time the interview took place. They change their story when, so to speak, when they say, "Hey, what's this song about?" There are some that say that the song is about a drug dealer. He turns tears into joy. Everyone's happy when he walks by. Like it was.
Gandalf was a drug dealer.
Oh, see, I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, so I'm not sure.
Well, he's a fucking wizard, man. What do you think? You got like potions and shit.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I get. You know what? Maybe there's a parallel there for sure. Yeah.
Regardless, it relit my love affair with the harmonica. Like, damn, that's a good song.
Yeah. And again, another drumming clinic.
Yeah.
It's a clinic, dude.
Right?
He just goes off. Like, you don't hear a lot of songs where the verse is basically like that much drumming. It's so good.
It is. Maybe that's what Twisted Sister was trying to do in all those songs, Mauro. Was they listened to a bunch of Black Sabbath and they're like, well, this is what Bill Ward did, so maybe that's what we should do, and I'm just going to drum the shit out of this.
Yeah. But somebody should have cut the guitarist's fingers off. Maybe he'd have played better.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's probably no surprise that the number one song is, Black Sabbath off the Black Sabbath album by a band called Black Sabbath. This is the song, I guess, that we talked about that was inspired, I guess, by that horror film, right? That they wrote that as a after that song, and it is a haunting.
Dude, everything about the rain that comes down, the church bell in the distance, the lightning, and then you hit that first two notes, and you're like, "What on earth?" Like, it is terrifying.
And what a way to open a set. When like at that 2016 concert, they opened with that track, and it's pitch black, and like you said, you hear the rain coming down and the thunder, and the crowd goes crazy, and it's just, boom, boom, like
oh. And such a simple song, right? Like three notes for the intro, essentially, right? But what do you guys think?
Makes awesome. Hell's Bells sound like a nursery rhyme.
Yeah, you're right. Does. Yeah, you're right.
Hell's Bells is kind of a sinister song. This is like insanity.
Yeah, and then the outro, I don't know if you call it the outro, the back half of that, the fast riff. And then, I don't know, is he playing a wah there? When there's a sound that he makes with his guitar. It's just like a fast wah, like he's hammering the hammer. It's like a hammer with the wah.
Maybe.
Sounds incredible.
I have a question, though, for those of you that drum. I find the drum beat in the fast part is it's interesting. It's like fast, but like, is it an off time or something? Like,
I don't know if it's off time, but it is a very unusual beat. Like
it's a triplet though. It's a 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an odd take he has on it. He was a good drummer. I think he is underrated because he's obviously in the shadow of John Bonham. And rightfully so. But Bill Ward was a great drummer in his own right. But yeah, he does some really interesting things, and this song is a great example of that because this song starts off so slow, and then as you say, it just quadruples in speed. That second part, and they somehow fit so well together. That's the part I don't get.
And the chords. You were talking about it, Cecil. The chords is they call it the devil's tritone. It's like
that's the
devil music. It's a diminished chord. It's got a flat fifth.
Yeah, the flat fifth they call the devil's. So what a tritone is 6 half steps or 3 full steps with and the fifth is
it's a flat fifth,
flat
which
fifth.
gives it and they used to call it devil music in the olden days.
This is like an unsettled sound. So I don't know if
Diablos in Musica. That's what they called it.
And it says
Isn't that a Slayer album?
But they said
it's the name of a Slayer album, but it's like an old, way back thing on this. The way that these chords are.
That goes back to like Mozart times, doesn't
But
it?
it's rumored
Yeah.
that it was banned, like up till the Renaissance or something. Like you could not because his music was supposed to connect you with God, so that was the devil's tone, and you weren't even. You weren't like you were banned. They banned you from composing.
Thou shalt not play that.
Thou shalt not
riff.
play the diminished fifth.
Yeah, I did read something about that too, Carl. I think you're spot on. It was, if not outlawed, then definitely frowned upon.
Now I wonder if that was intentional, Black Sabbath, or not.
It's hard to say. I don't.
But it
I
sure
read
is a
Tom
good
Morello's.
fit.
Tom Morello from Rage said this was the scariest song ever recorded, bar none. Like
Yeah, he did say that. I saw that.
he has some mad love, and you can hear it in Rage too. They got a lot of Sabbath influence in them, but Tom Morello loves his Sabbath.
A lot of the sinister metal bands use that chord progression or whatever it is.
But
you never heard-
metal. That sounds wicked.
You never heard that really before they did that. And this, I don't know. I can't get sick of this song. It's just
I agree.
such a good song.
I think what we have here is another great song.
We do have another great song, and,
Great
and
tune.
and I think deserving of the the clean sweep with the perfect score of 80. It's only the second time it's ever happened.
I forgot about that.
And I think it's deserving. So I'll go over the top 11 again. So tied it in 10th is Into the Void and A National Acrobat. 9 is A Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village / Warning. 8 is Symptom of the Universe. 7 is War Pigs and Luke's Wall. 6, Lord of This World. 5, Hand of Doom. 4 is Wicked World. I'm coming off the rails. This is no good. 3 is Wasp. Behind the Wall of Sleep, basically NIB. 2 is The Wizard. And 1 is Black Sabbath.
Nicely done, sir.
That is one hell. This is probably my favorite playlist. So when you think, again, reminding everybody that our playlists that you can find are our top 20. So it's these 10 plus 10 more, and then our deep cuts, which we'll get into in a second. Before we do that, though, we need to talk about egregious omissions and points of contention. And a couple, I'll start it off, I'll throw it out to you guys and see what you think. A couple that kind of jumped out at me. Mauro mentioned a little bit. No Iron Man, no Paranoid, the song Paranoid, that no one even had it in their top 20. And the fact that only 2 songs from the album Volume 4 made the overall top 20. Was that surprising to anybody?
Not Paranoid because it's such overplayed. It's just an overplayed tune. Erin used to work at the back alley rock and roll bar, and she heard it tonight and almost snapped. She used to hear it more than
right?
They would play it more than once a night on her shift.
Well, and it's been remade so many times too, right? So it's like we went through a Megadeth stage, and Megadeth did it. So I heard it a million times. Black Sabbath, I heard it a million times when Megadeth played it. Like there were so many bands that
again, a filler song just to fill out the time in the album. That's who you're going with, right, Mauro?
Yeah, exactly. It was just a filler tune.
This was their highest charting song of all time too. I think it made it up.
Was it?
in the
Accidental
top 5.
hit.
Yeah.
Like,
They don't
I think
have anything else in the top 10 ever.
I think it goes back to what Mauro said, that, and there are a number of bands like this, but this is probably one of those when you say, their most popular songs are not their best written songs or even our favorite songs or however you want to term it. I think that kind of goes into that. What about Volume 4? Was it surprising that when we spoke earlier in the week, it sounded like Volume 4 was getting some mad love, and then it kind of fell short.
I was surprised. I'm really big fan of Volume 4, and so I was surprised I didn't have more of my own. I guess we'll get into the deep cuts and egregious omissions, but I mean this has some really really famous songs. Like it's got Supernaut, Snowblind, Cornucopia. Like it has some changes. It's got some big songs. I was surprised it wasn't as well represented.
Changes is that
That
an
might be an
egregious
omission. Yeah, it might be. I don't like the song myself, but
I view it as an Aussie song, and I think that's my problem.
Yeah, I know.
I see it as an Aussie song. I don't see it as a Black Sabbath song, even though I think Iommi wrote that, or Butler wrote that, didn't he?
I think so.
I don't think Ozzy wrote it. I think he just took it for himself.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's egregious or not, but it's one of my favorite songs, and and I should have rated it higher. It's Planet Caravan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pantera covered that too.
Pantera did a great job of covering it, but that's such a solid song, you know.
Yeah, that one
came in, I mean-
Solitude are similar. They got Solitude has Solitude doesn't have drums, sorry, but
At least Planet Caravan came in at number 13, so it's not like it was completely off the list, but you know, again, going back to Changes and Paranoid, like it didn't even make the list. Like Fairies Wear Boots, people are probably saying, where's Fairies Wear Boots? Popular song. It came in at number 14, so it did make the top 20, just not good enough to make the top 10.
True.
Anything else that you would call an egregious omission?
Well, I don't know if it's egregious, but Ozzy said their best song, or at least his favorite song, was "Children of the Grave." Now we do have that at number 15, so it's not represented. Just surprised it's not in the top 10. He just said that it was all the best parts of Sabbath were in that song.
Yeah, I put that. You know what? I'm gonna put that blame solely on the shoulders of you three. I had it. I had it at number 8. Like I love that song. At one point was my number 1 song.
Yeah.
And then I got my act together. But I mean, it could have been my number 2 or number 3 song.
Sure.
That is one of my favorite songs. I think it might be. I think it's an egregious omission from the other. From those of you that didn't have it on your list.
Yeah.
Gord, you had
list.
it in at 19, I think.
Yeah, it barely cracked my.
Cecil at 16, so it was on the list, just not good enough. But that's a fabulous tune. That's
I had
a great
38 songs on my list.
Yeah, I know.
Compare it to 20. Some had to miss.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
absolutely.
yeah. Cecil, have you got anything egregious or any points of contention? Anything on here that you don't think should be on here?
I don't. It's almost in perfect order. I really, I can't complain. It
is a tremendous list, isn't it?
One of
It
those
really
bands
is.
that just starts off. Another band that I don't want to say they get worse as they go on, but I like. You know, if I listen to their career backwards, they get better till the first album.
Yeah, with the exception of 13.
Yeah, you know what? 13's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think we'll get to that.
I think we're discounting the Dio stuff. I think it had some promise.
Throw something out there. What do you think's missing?
Is that the egregious omission, Mauro? Is that? Are you?
I don't believe there's.
as a point of contention.
No,
is it a point of contention?
There cannot be a Dio song in the top 10. That's just not possible.
What about top 20?
In the top 20, yes.
Okay.
There should be one Dio song, maybe.
So maybe that's a point of contention that we didn't actually get anything in the top 20. My issue, just like when I hear Changes, I think Ozzy. When I hear the Black Sabbath with Dio singing, I hear Dio. Like I just to me it's no different than Holy Diver or I don't know. It's his voice is so distinct, and I think that time period, because it was that 80s. You're getting into that. I don't want to say glam metal, but I don't know. Just the style of music and that is just too Dio for me. Not that I don't like Dio. It's just not Black Sabbath.
I thought Dio was a great choice for replacing Ozzy. I mean, that's a thankless job, right? That's big shoes to fill. But I thought Dio was probably a great call. I think that during his time, I wouldn't place the failures on him as much as the band, the songwriting started to really fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
I think the booze and, everyone knows Ozzy was, a lot of drugs and booze, but the other guys had their problems too. And I think it really started to affect them. Before Ozzy left, like Technical Ecstasy is not a great album. And Ozzy's around, he owns that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I won't call this a deep cut. The only song off of Technical Ecstasy that I thought was a good tune was Dirty Women. I had it on my list, and as I kind of looked at, and I didn't even remember this, but at both of those Ozzy shows with Black Sabbath here locally, they played that song, and I didn't realize that.
Oh, I
forgot that they did, but they did both times. They played it right before Children Out of the Grave. So,
there you go.
In any event, so I think that's a good point to get into deep cuts.
Now I looked something up quick, and I just want to
see. We have to look up our own stuff now because we fired all the researchers.
Yeah, no shit. But Dio's albums never came out till after he was in Sabbath.
Right.
He went solo after is what you're saying.
He went solo after he was in Sabbath. So.
Right. Yep. But
so
to me,
for us, maybe it sounds like Dio, but
yeah, that's probably fair because we were young and didn't hear the albums as they're coming out, right?
I heard Dio before I heard Black Sabbath.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, he was in Rainbow and other shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like some of the Rainbow stuff too. But his voice is just so distinct, and I almost feel like I feel the pain of the Van Halen fans, that were David Lee Roth, and then the next guy comes in, and then the Sharon comes in, and like it just doesn't fit for whatever reason. That's kind of where I'm at with this band is I find the Ozzy is the front man to me is the right answer, and I don't think you can switch it.
Maybe if you look in retrospect, they should have just changed the name to Heaven and Hell.
Yes,
and Dio could have played out his years with the Black Sabbath band, and then I wouldn't be so frustrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then when the band gets back together for another album, then you resurrect the Black Sabbath name. Is probably the way to go. So,
well, maybe I'll throw out the first deep cut then.
Give it to me.
I'm going to say my favorite Dio song with Black Sabbath is "Die Young." I thought that was a great song. I know there's some other ones on there, but that's my favorite Dio one by quite a bit, actually. What do you guys think of that one? Yeah, kind of meh.
It's not my favorite Dio song, but I have 3 Dio songs listed.
Well, let's hear your deep cuts.
Well, have you only got the one deep cut? You can't tell me you've only got one.
No, I only have one Dio deep. I'll give you my other one. I only have 2 deep cuts today. And
okay, what else you got?
I got "Hole in the Sky" off of Sabotage. I think "Hole in the Sky" is a great song. I know it's a little different for them too. It's kind of dare I say catchy. It's almost radio friendly.
That's a good pick. I had it on my short list, but it didn't make it. But that's a good pick.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you. That's all I got. I don't want to overdo it. I'd love to hear you guys. I mean, we could go on. I could have a dozen deep cuts, but I'm just going to leave it for those 2.
Okay.
I know. I'm pulling a Gordo here.
Oh,
do it. I was
going to list like
prepared
4 albums as my deep cuts.
All right, give it to me.
I'll start with The Mix-Up by the Beastie Boys.
At least Gord didn't pick an instrumental this time.
I was going to.
It's the first time. This is the first time one of your deep cuts has been an instrumental.
I had one here too.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, which instrumental was it? I think I know which one you
what is
picked.
It? I'll let you
Rat Salad?
No, you go ahead.
Anyway, I want to give a shout out. It was tied for 20th to Junior's Eyes. It's, in my opinion, the best song on Never Say Die. The last sort of hurrah for Ozzy there.
Can I interrupt your deep cuts for a brief moment to issue a public apology to you, sir, Mr. Mauro, for completely dropping the ball? When I saw your list and you had Junior's Eyes at number 8 on your personal list, and I thought, and I was like, what am I missing here? And I listened to it.
It's outstanding, isn't it?
It's outstanding. I like, I'm even speechless. Like, I can't even put into words like how I felt. I was like, how did I miss this? And I don't know if it's because it was off of Never Say Die, so you're already thinking, oh God, this is going to be dog shit. But I don't know how I missed that song, but that song,
it's good,
is really, really good.
Yeah,
so,
it's a gem.
Yeah, that is the prime example of what a deep cut is.
Yeah, I love that song, and you're right, because the album's terrible, but then that just popped out, and I was like, wow, that's like a really hidden gem there. So
it's really
anyway,
solid.
Shout out to that one.
Yeah.
But I have to say, Lady Evil on Heaven and Hell with Dio is a pretty aggressive.
It's a pretty good pick.
Pretty aggressive tune.
It's no Junior's Eyes.
It's not even close. And I don't know if it's a deep cut or not, but Slipping Away is on Mob Rules. And of course, that has the alternating guitar and bass solo. And it's one of Iommi's best guitar solos on any of the albums. So, that's right.
I'm trying to remember it now. Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm not overly familiar with the Dio stuff, but
I love it because of the guitar and the bass solo, and they kind of go back and forth, and
yeah,
that's not a bad pick.
It's pretty cool. I'd like to pick the whole album 13 as a deep cut, but I'm not allowed to do that.
No, and is that the end of your deep cuts?
Yeah, it's Junior's Eyes, Slipping Away, and Lady Evil.
Okay, because that's a good. Oh, sorry, Gordo.
No, that's okay. I wanted to mention that my instrumental that I had for the deep cut was Orchid off of Master of Reality. I don't know what it is about that song. It's very like classical guitar.
It's weird.
It's very strange, but there's something about it. It just appeals to me. I really like that dude.
Okay, well, I'm glad that's not on the list. But I wanted to transition out of what Mauro said, because my 2 of my 3 deep cuts are from the album 13. One being Age of Reason. I was the only one that had this on the list. We had a smattering of different songs from that album, but for those Black Sabbath fans out there that are, again, big into their first however many 4, 5, or 6 albums, that whatever, and maybe you missed that 13 album that they released. It's a number of years ago now, but it was
2013.
2013. Yeah, thanks. I'm not that bright. Rick Rubin produced it. Age of Reason is a wicked tune, and then I had read there that Iommi, normally what he does is he'll lay down the backing track and then he adds in the solos. And Rubin didn't want him to do that. He wanted him to basically play everything live, and Iommi's basically, he was like, I don't know what I'm gonna play. And he said, well, just play and we'll figure it out. And Age of Reason was one of those songs that off that album that he did that, and I think it's awesome. God Is Dead is another one. That was a popular song that you heard. And I think it even got some radio play and stuff. It's a little bit more traditional Black Sabbath, so I'm going to add that. Megalomania from Sabotage. This goes back to what Mauro said earlier about the 2 songs. Like, this is a perfect example of that. This is a longer song, but it's 2 different songs, and it's combined by a really cool transition. And it's just at one point it's just Bill Ward with a cowbell. And I mean, I love my cowbell, right? And then the second half of that song, like after that, is really, really cool.
That's the first thing I thought of when I listened to that song.
Yeah.
The cowbell. I'm like, Huff's gonna have this high on his list.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And
I snuck it in as a deep cut.
But the funny part is about that song, I had it ranked as high as like 7th at one point.
Okay.
So I totally agree with you. And then I thought, it's not, because I think it's it's solid. And you're right, it's like 2 different songs in one.
Yeah.
And I ended up moving it down my list, but deserves to be on the deep cuts for sure.
Yeah. And those are my 3 deep cuts with a shout out to there was an EP that they put out after the 13 album, and it was called The End. And the problem is now when you find The End, they've called their live album The End, and the tour was called The End. But at one point when I was using Apple Music, it was on Apple Music, and I listened to it quite a bit, and then it disappeared. But it is available on CD out there for those collectors and people that maybe want to check it out. But there's basically 4 songs that were left over from the 13 album. So I wouldn't say that these are like wicked tunes, but in terms of things to look for deep cuts. So there was Season of the Dead, which is actually a really cool tune. It's really good. Cry All Night, which is kind of lame. Take Me Home, which is also kind of lame. And then the 4th song on there is Isolated Man, which is pretty good, which is not bad. But if you're looking for maybe something different, but then there's four live tracks from the End tour that are on there. But the End EP, if you can find it, is kind of cool.
Could I add one more deep cut than an official one?
Yeah, you can.
Well, thanks, my man. That's so charitable.
There's no rules here.
Off the 13 album, I'd like to go with the End of the Beginning. I think when I heard they were coming out with another album, I was both excited and really nervous because, they'd already had that long, tarnished legacy. And I didn't want them to come out with a dog shit album. And I was absolutely shocked at how good that album was. And that starts it off. And I believe it's the first song. Yeah.
See, this was my point when I wanted to add the whole album because I have like 3, that I could have put on there.
You've got Pariah. What else did you have? Methodemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Methodemic's one of the heaviest songs they've ever written, period.
Yeah, it's good. So, again, so we'll add that End of the Beginning.
Thank you. I should throw out a little love for the Rage drummer that showed up on short notice to fill in for the recording of them. I thought he did a good job considering the time constraints he had.
I felt like when you listen, he got and not like it's a big surprise. Black Sabbath was, as you said, inspired a lot of musicians, but I thought that Brad Wilk was really got the Sabbath feel, if you will. Like it felt like he was playing like Sabbath-ish.
Yeah, it's like he had his own spin on Sabbath. He definitely had his own style, but it was definitely within the same realm, and I thought it worked really good.
And that song that you just mentioned, End of the Beginning, is a great example of that, I think. I think the way that song comes together, it is a little bit like classic Sabbath, and the drumming on it is very, Bill Wardy.
It's very much like Black Sabbath, the first song.
But right? If you think about it, Rage has lots of songs like that.
Totally.
Oh,
yeah, they
absolutely.
do.
They do, and they're their style of music's so different, but you don't really notice it that they're comparable, but they actually are quite. He's actually the perfect drummer for that kind of slow sort of.
Yeah. Like I'd argue you could have pulled in Rage's bass player if you needed to, right? If you needed him to sit it. Like it's funny how bands like that you don't think of being so related actually sound similar when you think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to cut the deep cuts short only because Cecil has had to leave. I'm looking on the screen and it's
curtains, literally.
It is literally curtains. There's nobody sitting there, so we'll assume that something's come up at home and that he's had to deal with. So we will, unfortunately, I might, you know what, people, check the playlist, and we'll get Cease's deep cuts in there somewhere, so we will make sure we add them. We're just not going to be able to talk about them here on the podcast. And that, unless there's something that we missed, I think that's it. What do you think?
It's curtains.
I think that's
curtains.
It is curtains.
That's Black Sabbath, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, and coworkers about it. As always, we appreciate your support. Don't forget to email the show at picksandstickspodcast@gmail.com. You know what? We may even feature your email in an upcoming episode of Gord's Pouch. What else? Don't make sure you don't miss an episode. You can subscribe to Picks and Sticks. You find us wherever you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Amazon, Pandora. We're pretty much everywhere. And don't be afraid to leave a 5-star rating or a positive review if your app allows it. I know that Apple and Stitcher will allow it, but that really helps us grow our podcast as well. Next episode, we're going to bring you some Social Distortion. We're going to do some Social D, and
there's some rock and roll. Eh?
There's some rock and roll.
There's deadly.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm already a couple albums in. God, I forgot how much I love Social D. So we're going to do that next time.
It's the first cover song we ever learned.
That's true.
First cover song we ever learned was a Social D tune.
It is. Well, we'll talk about that next time.
Sorry.
And until next time, see ya.
See ya.